Hello everybody and welcome again to my channel. Once again we have Jack hosting. We're certainly happy to have him here. And today I thought that I would share some of the gems I have found from my spiritual study that I've been doing. So when I was growing up, we were told that old literature contained many spiritual gems, and I took those words to heart. And I recently came across the 1974 Watchtower Bond volume, which you can see for yourself. And there's a very fascinating article in January 15th, 1974. In that article, and as you can see, the title is Can You Be True to God Yet Hide the Facts? So I'm going to read the third paragraph in the first column on page 35, and I'll put that on the camera so you can see it. Now that says, when persons are in great danger from a source that they do not suspect or are being misled by those they consider their friends, is it an unkindness to warn them? They may prefer not to believe the warning. They may even resent it. But does that free one from the mortal responsibility to give that warning? An interesting question. So they're basically saying that when you know somebody is being misled, it's a kindness to warn them. And those people might not want to hear what you have to say, but nonetheless, you have a moral responsibility to tell them. Now, those are very interesting words coming from the Watchtower. If you follow this channel or have seen some of the other videos of this channel, the reasons for that will be obvious. But this next paragraph is interesting, right below that. So the fourth paragraph there on page 35 says, if you are among those seeking to be faithful to God, the issues these questions raise are vital for you today. Why? Because God's servants in every period of history have had to face up to the challenge these issues present. They have had to expose falsehood and wrongdoing and warn people of dangers and deception, not just in a general way, but in a specific way, in the interest of pure worship. So I'm going to turn the page now, on page 36, and it talks about how Jesus made known the truth. And there's an interesting paragraph here. I'm going to put this one on the camera again, on page 36. I think I got that. So I'm going to read this paragraph. It is roughly the third one down. It's after the quotation from John 3:19-21. It says, and who primarily objected to Jesus' bold declaration of the truth that exposed the way God's standards were being violated? Was it not the religious leaders, the scribes, the Pharisees, and chief priests? Read for yourself what the Bible states at Matthew 16:21, 20:18 and 19, and 23:13. And I'll put that on screen again. And I'm doing that so you can see that I am not making this up. So now page 37. What faithfulness requires of us? This is the first full paragraph on page 37. It says, do you believe that lies should not go unchallenged? Then what about falsehoods told about God? Misrepresentations of his announced purposes? Surely this is not less, but more serious than lies of a general kind. Perhaps you agree that wrongdoing should be exposed. But what if the wrongdoing is done by religious people, perhaps persons in your own church? Will faithfulness to God cause you to speak out for what is right? So I'll show you this paragraph as well. I didn't read the whole thing. And we'll set Jack back up. Sorry for knocking you over there, Jack. So what we see here is the Watchtower is telling you that if you are aware of lies that are being propagated, that you have a moral responsibility to tell people the truth. And they say this is even more important in the case where God is involved. But does this follow with the way they behave in such cases? So if this is the case, you would think that if you brought to their attention the fact that something they were teaching about God or about his purposes was incorrect, they would respond immediately and correct it. And they would be thankful, and they would research these things and make sure. But they do not. Any time that you tell them that something that they're teaching is wrong, even when you provide abundant proof, which is very easy to do, they don't want to hear it. They consider you an evil person, and they react with vitriol. So I'm just bringing this out because once again we're seeing another way in which the Watchtower organization does not meet their own standards. Or it could be that this is old enough that their standards have changed, but the reality is their standards have always been the same with regards to how they approach their version of the truth. If anybody who is in their organization comes forward to tell them that they found a mistake, that person is silenced. If that person does not come back into line and agree with them, they are kicked out, they are ostracized, they are shunned, they are looked down upon as a wicked individual for merely standing up for the truth. So this is just yet another level of hypocrisy. The more you look into the Watchtower teachings, the more you see that they're so riddled with hypocrisy that they make the Pharisees look like righteous individuals. Anyways, that's my video for this time. Thanks for watching, and thanks again, Jack, for being the host, and we'll see you next time.